Do you want me to play some entrance music?
No.
Come on. Play some entrance music.
Oh, you also can't move around too much because it fucks up
The shadow?
shadows. Yeah.
So I'm going to play some entry music just for everyone involved. Hold on, Jodi. Let me just
Gracefully. Hi everyone. So I wanna bring you back in time, bring you back to a simpler life actually. When the next Hunger Games movie is coming out in November, the BEA vlogs have just come out as well. Like you're watching all the BEA hauls, BookCon hauls, Paul Manana's books, Jessie the Reader, Caddy-tastic, bonded together in Booksplosion. We all just watched two videos and we all cried in the cinemas. And it was a simpler time because we all came home after school, took off our school bags, got out of our school uniform, got into our pajamas, and we knelt down like with our phone in our hand and we started writing Hunger Games fan fiction and book tags. Book tags are all the galore. If you don't do a book tag, you're not a booktuber. And booktube is just rampant with YA. There are no A Little Lives and there are no depressing books like Normal People, and dark academia does not exist. Booktube is only YA, okay? There are no room for adult books here. No adult themes, thank you very much. So I'm Grace. This is Gracefully, and today we're going to be exploring the books that were popular on BookTube that aren't anymore but should definitely still be popular, because these books honestly have a place in my heart and I think that everyone should read them. I think they're like mandatory reading. So get your credit cards out, bring up Booktopia if you're Australian or Amazon, get your keyboards ready, and get ready to list some books. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to go in year order. So we're going to start at 2012 and end in 2018, which I think is like the time that I was most on BookTube. And then I kind of went and did my like final year exams, went to uni. Now it's 2021. The world is falling apart. Don't know what happened to those good years. Yeah, you're upset about it too, aren't you? You're like, where are those simpler times? Anyway, so the first books that I'm going to recommend aren't very big, actually. No, they're probably books that we all are totally aware of, but I'm unsure whether people are actually reading them now or whether like people who are like the age that I was when I started watching BookTube are actually reading this book. And that one is The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. I know this is probably very simple one to start with, but I think this book is written so well and there's not enough credit given to this. It's like literally horrific. My boyfriend and I just rewatched the movies and it hurts. It hurts a lot. Do you want to do this video for me?
Yeah.
What's The Hunger Games about? Come on.
Give me in there. So, The Hunger Games is about like this really big circle that everyone has to like, hit each other with sticks in. And the last person to not be hit with a stick wins.
Yeah. Who does it follow?
And it follows this person called Fatness Everclean, and she just runs. She's like in the District 12.
Yeah, she is. Correct.
And what happens is that she has like a little sister and like a dad and like a mum, not a dad. Dad's dead. But
as is with all YA books, really.
Pretty much, if there's no family like trauma,
then is it even a book?
Is it even a book? But one thing that's for sure is that they do this thing called the Hunger Games, which is kind of like Christmas except death. And what happens is that it happens once every year, and they pick out only 2 people to receive the gifts for Christmas every year.
Yeah.
And they get really cool things like bow and arrows, spears, and lifelong trauma. It's really good gifts. But essentially, she goes to the reaping, and the reaping, she really doesn't want her sister to be picked. Because this is for the Christmas gift. Because the girl was like, oh no, I got trauma, but like in a dream, and then Katniss is like, hey, that's not gonna happen, lol. Like your name's only in there once. Like what's the chances that that's gonna happen? Whoops! It's Prim. She got picked on the first pick, and then Katniss is like, I volunteer as tribute, and I didn't stop hearing that for like 4 years in high school.
Anyway. Now that Liam has given us a beautiful, beautiful description of the Hunger Games, mean, I feel like a lot of people like know the plot of the Hunger Games and know that it was like this really big thing, but I'm unsure whether people are reading it. So if you haven't read it, this is a friendly reminder that you have to read the Hunger Games. And also, it came out with a 4th book or / a prequel in the series. So yeah, this one just came out last in 2020, and it should be turned a movie in 2022. It follows the origin of the games, and it follows President Snow and his life. I didn't get a lot of discussion around it purely because of a pandemic. But I think it deserves a lot more attention than it gets. So did I just include this to tell you all to read A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes because I have not met anyone who has read it? Yes. Anyway, read The Hunger Games and this book, please. Thank you. So we're just going to move on to 2013. I didn't have a lot of 2012 recommendations because I feel like that was the peak of like Percy Jackson, Hunger Games, Divergent, all that sort of stuff. I don't think you should read Divergent. I did reread it. It's not as good. If you read it in its prime, it's amazing. If you read it later, I'm sorry. So in 2013, there's this book and it was called Fangirl. It's very popular. It's by Rainbow Rowell. And this book is essentially about Levi and Kath, and it's their love story because it's a cute little romance contemporary, and it's the only contemporary that I have honestly ever like loved. But it's essentially about Kath, and she goes to uni with her sister, but her sister kind of wants to distance herself from Kath. She wants to like live this party life while Kath is like, I want to be inside and I want to read books and write fan fiction, which honestly relatable. So yeah, so it's essentially about her story, about her getting famous, writing fan fiction about this fictional book called Simon Snow, which is very much Harry Potter. And kind of her rise to fame with that and how that is influencing her work ethic and also her opening up to like uni life and going to parties and kind of connecting with people that are older than her and getting out of her shell and kind of managing home life with that. It's a really like complex but also really fuzzy and warm. It doesn't kind of have all the really heavy topics of Colleen Hoover. You know what I mean? It's just a book to read when you want to feel happy. Fangirl's a lot like Geekerella if you've read Geekerella. I haven't, but gathering from the plot, it's very similar in its themes and style. Next up is 2014. So I have 2 books of 2014 that I thought was worth recommending. So we have 1,000 Pieces of You, and that's by Claudia Gray. This book's cover is stunning. If you just buy this book to put it on your shelf, then honestly, you've done a good job with life. And Margaret's parents have invented this technology called the Firebird, which does allow you to jump between universes. And then one day, Margaret's dad dies. He is murdered, and then the assistant of the lab just disappears. Obviously, that's a little sus. Dad dies, assistant goes missing. Really not the life you want to be living. So she goes and she grabs the remaining Firebird and she chases after him into alternate universes. And it's really... I love this series so much, and it meant a lot to me, and I hope you guys enjoy it too. Oh, also I have read the Goodreads reviews in like hindsight, and this does seem like a very love it or hate it book. The critiques are generally regarding the fact that it is marketed as a sci-fi and it doesn't really have a very intensive discussion over how this technology works. It's more about the kind of friendships and romances that are a result of these like parallel universes, explores destiny, all that fun stuff. Next is a book that I couldn't pinpoint exactly when it was popular because it kind of comes in and out of popularity. And that one is All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. And this one follows 2 children during World War II. It follows a Nazi youth boy, and it follows a blind girl who lives in a French island. And it's just follows on such like minute and unique stories that it kind of brings to light this atrocity that was obviously World War II. And yeah, it just interweaves these 2 stories. It interweaves kind of what the Nazi youth boy is feeling about his life and whether this is the path he wants to take. He's kind of comprehending these terrible things he's witnessing, but it's through the eyes of a child, so he can't really perceive whether it's right or wrong. This blind girl is trying to navigate a war when she can't see, and also taking care of her elderly, I think, grandfather. But it's honestly, if you love historical fiction, I would very much suggest reading this book because I don't think you'd be disappointed. It's really one that has stuck with me a lot, and I think it's really up there with another historical fiction that I'm going to mention, but I'll mention that a bit later. Okay, so moving on to 2015. 2015, Ready Player One came out. That was by Ernest Cline. And this book, everyone was reading it. So I read it. And I really enjoyed it. It's essentially about this guy who creates the Oasis, and it's a virtual reality. The cities have gone to absolute trash. There's just high rises everywhere. Everyone lives in really like confined apartments. The only escape that anyone really has is this oasis. So when the creator of Oasis dies and leaves a treasure hunt to his fortune and the inheritance of Oasis, everyone is like going crazy. Like they're like, oh my gosh, we need to win this because we get to be rich, we get to own Oasis. And so the main character of this story, he wants to win this competition. It has a lot of like 80s and 90s Easter eggs, references to video games and all that kind of stuff. So if you are into that, that's totally something you'll out of this book you'll enjoy, but you don't have to understand it. I didn't. Okay, the next book was a Booksplosion Book of the Month pick for probably like June or July. It's probably not that month. But yeah, it's a Booksplosion Book of the Month pick, and is the only Booksplosion book that I actually read because this plot intrigued me so much. And I promise you, if you love books, this book will like fulfill your dreams. It's again a cute little fuzzy book. It is Between the Lines by Jodi Picoult and her daughter, Samantha Van Leer. And this book is honestly a book lover's dream. So it's essentially about this girl, and she goes to the library every day, she borrows books, and then one day she picks up this picture book. And she opens the picture book and she reads it a few times. She's really like allured by it and she can't really decipher why. Anyway, she's reading it and she's like, you know, about to return to the library. And then one day, the prince out of the book just pops out and he's suddenly like here in real life, just standing in front of her, trying to navigate modern society. And it is so comedic. It is so funny watching like a prince who has lived within the confines of a picture book, trying to navigate phones and, you know, and cars and school and just social norms that are, you know, not being a pretentious prince. And the love story is like, it's just so... Every book lover just wants to date the book character from their book. I love you, Liam. But everyone wants to date the book character from their book. And this book lets you achieve that, essentially. I mean, there is a second one, which kind of continues on.
Wait, did you mention my name?
Yeah.
What did you say?
I said everyone wants to date a character from the book. And I said, I love you, Liam. But it's true.
Oh, I know this. You don't think every guy has accepted this reality by now?
Oh, the next book. The next book. Okay, everyone. This next book it has a special place in my heart, and I'm not going to go a single video without mentioning this author, apparently. The other book that was very popular in 2015 was The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. So this book follows Blue, and her family is a family full of psychics. They can all like tell the future, they can like do tarot cards, they can speak to the dead on certain days of the year. And Blue, who is the daughter of one of these psychics, can't do any of these things. But she does have one peculiarity about her, and that is that she has been told, the only prophecy she's ever been given is that when she kisses her true love, he will die. And the book kind of goes from there. It's honestly it's such a good series. I think it does lack towards the end a little bit, but then the next series that comes out, which is the Dreamer trilogy, is like phenomenal. And Maggie Stiefvater is a whimsical writer, and I could not say more praise about her. Okay, next up, we're moving to 2016. Okay, so 2016 was a year of historical fiction. I don't know why, but we all became very fascinated with historical retellings, with historical fiction, with like anything that was related to the World Wars and kind of that period. The first book that I wanted to talk about that has definitely not been popular since its kind of rise to fame in 2016 is Wolf by Wolf, and that's by Rowell and Graudin. This is essentially is an alternate history where the Axis powers have won, so Germany and Japan, and every year to celebrate their victory, they have a motorcycle race, and the person who wins gets to meet Hitler. So our protagonist is Yale, and she is a shapeshifter, and she also was a prisoner of a war camp. And she obviously wants revenge on Hitler for this. So she enters the race masqueraded as this golden child, Adele. So she goes into the race and she aims to win, but she also has to navigate Adele's relationships with other racers, like a certain Lucas. And Lucas, oh, beautiful man, but he and Adele obviously have a very complex history, and Yale is trying to navigate this while also trying to win the race and also kind of fighting with the fact that she might be liking this boy. And there's just so many little like lines and loose ends, and it's a really intriguing look at like the world wars and what could have potentially happened if the Nazis had won. I think alternate history is a genre that isn't explored enough, or at least isn't popularized enough. So if you guys do have any alternate history recommendations, please chuck them down below. The next book that became repopularized in 2016 was The Book Thief, and that's by Marcus Zusac. And I love my Australian authors, and he is honestly phenomenal. So for those of you who don't know, if you haven't read The Book Thief, it is probably the greatest, in my opinion, World War II novel that has ever been written. It's from the perspective of Death. So Death is narrating the whole thing. The opening monologue is beautiful. If you want to get a taste of this book and don't want to buy it, I'm sure that there's the opening chapter on Amazon. He's actually very sympathetic, and he kind of witnesses the life of this girl called Liesel. And Liesel is the daughter of a communist and gets kind of orphaned, and then she is given to this German family, this very respectable German family. And then one day she discovers a Jew in her basement. It's heartbreaking and beautiful, and just, I need to read this book again. And fun fact about this book and myself, my mum said that I wasn't allowed to read this book when I was around like 10 years old, which, you know, fair enough. Fair enough, mother. But I remember she had a copy of it on her bookshelf. So I remember I went in the dead of night and I stole the book. So I stole The Book Thief. That's the joke. And the next book that kind of became popularized, and I'm kind of going to mention this book because another book by this author was kind of popularized in the same year, and that is Beyond Shades of Grey by Ruta Sepetys. So here's some background of Ruta Sepetys. So she writes historical fiction, but she doesn't necessarily write like the main feature of what was happening in that time. This is set in 1941, and instead of being on like a Nazi camp, which I feel like is the primary focus of literature, it focuses on a Soviet slave camp. And it follows this, I believe she's 15 years old, and she goes to this camp and she's treated horrifically. And I still recall like the scenes from this book of prisoners having to stand while they sleep, and like what her mother has to sacrifice, and kind of where she finds refuge in this really horrific situation. And I think it provides an alternate history that we don't hear a lot of. And I think books are an amazing facilitator of that. And I think we, need to learn about these things. And Ruta Sepetys gives us the means to be able to do this. So I completely skipped 2017. Didn't realize until now. It's fine. It's fine. Next is 2018. The year that I became a full-fledged adult. So yeah, if you don't realize, there are more and more books being added to the list each year, and that's because I got a job when I was 14 and then actually had the means to buy myself books, which, you know, very good investment. I definitely don't have like 400 books at home. It's fine. It's fine. Okay, so the next book, I'm going to hold up the sequel, is Stranger Dreamer by Laini Taylor. This is Muse of Nightmares. This is the second one. But essentially, Stranger Dreamer, I'll put up the cover here, is about Laszlo Strange, and he is a war orphan, and he's been kind of taken into this library. And at this library, they study a variety of things, but he finds a secret part of the library which focuses on the city of Weep. Now, the city of Weep is very enigmatic. People don't know a lot about it, and the kind of original name of this city has been lost to memory. There was a curse set upon it, and it kind of wiped the memories of what this town's name was. That is until the Godslayer comes to Laszlo's library and is pleading for people who know about Weep to come and kind of help them resolve a problem that they have. Now, this problem is not explained until I get to where the problem place is. It's also called Strange the Dreamer because there is a dream magic happening here. So there are people connecting through dreams. I'll leave that up for your discovery, but it is very, very well done. Oh, and the next book, I'm actually currently reading the third book in the series. So I'm currently reading Hollowpox. This is preceded by Nevermore, which is the Trials of Morrigan Crow. I'll put up the cover because I think it perfectly epitomizes what this book is about. People have described this as like a Harry Potter. I think the only commonality is that it involves a magic school. I think whenever you say magic school, people are like, oh my God, it's Harry Potter. But it's a middle grade that focuses on a girl named Morrigan Crow. So Morrigan Crow was born on Eventide, which means that on her birthday, on her 12th birthday, she will die. She'll get hunted down by these like ghost creepy things. She will get murdered. Because she is born on Eventide, she is deemed as a cursed child. So she spends her day writing letters, apologizing for all the bad things that have happened in the town. And she's really just the brunt of all these adults' just miseries. It's the day that she's gonna die, and before these kind of evil things can get to her and kill her, she gets rescued by a lovely, lovely man called Jupiter North. Now, Jupiter North brings her to Nevermore, this fantastical city where they have the underground, which you ride through your umbrellas. Yeah, it's just a very mystical and whimsical city. And she's been told that she can stay in Nevermore, this fantastical place that just fulfills all her dreams, if she joins the Wanderer Society. Wanderer Society is this very mystical society, and she doesn't really know what it is, but she knows that she has to complete these trials to get into it. And I will read a line out of Hollowpox to kind of describe what this book is about, because it's not a spoiler. It just kind of, I think, captures the whimsy of this book. They shared a look, the kind of look one reserves for special occasions, such as when you've just learned that trains can come to life and hold other trains hostage. You've unwittingly joined an organisation full of people who have some reason decided to nose into this sort of business. You don't really feel like getting involved, but you're just going to have to go along with it because everyone else is. That kind of look. And I think if you're looking for a really light-hearted middle grade to kind of break up the depressing Holocaust summer books, because I read this after I read The Court of Silver Flames and Normal People, I'm reading this one. It just kind of lightens up your load a bit and it just brings a little bit of joy to your reading, which I feel like is very important. I took so many trips down memory lane to film this video, and it really made me grateful for the fact that I finally have gotten the courage to start this and talk about books and like explore my passion with y'all. So I hope that you guys pick up one of these books, or at least added it to your Goodreads wish list. Have added it to your Goodreads wish list. Fucking hell, I can't say that. Have added it to your Amazon wish list, and I hope that you guys have found something worthwhile in this list. If you guys have any suggestions of books that were popular or books that you think are underrated and underrepresented in booktube or BookTok.
Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Jesus, you gave me a fucking heart attack.
Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Yeah, you guys have a lovely, lovely, lovely day. Please read these books. They are classics in my mind. Hunger Games is definitely a classic. You can't get me to sway on that, okay? Okay. Anyway, you guys have a lovely, lovely, lovely afternoon. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy this kind of content, please subscribe, please like, and comment to show that you were here. Bye!
Now I return to my corner. Now I return to the cabinet under the stairs. Get it? Because it's book, yeah, because Harry Potter.
You know what Harry Potter is?
Yeah, it's the one with like the rings where people go invisible and stuff,
yeah.
Right? No.
People do go invisible. You're not wrong.
Yeah, and then they're like precious and stuff.
Yeah.
That's Harry Potter.
Voldemort definitely says my precious at least 3 times.
My favourite character in Harry Potter is probably Michael Scott.
It's not Katniss?
Nah, the more I think about it, it's probably going to be Daenerys Targaryen.